All right, so we need to talk about Huda. We need to talk about Huda Mustafa from season 7 of Love Island USA, but I don't think it's going to be for the reason that you think. She's a very polarizing figure, and so whether you are, what do they call her fans? The hoodlums, the hood rats? Whether you are a hoodlummer or a hood rat, or somebody who thinks she's incredibly problematic, I'm going to ask you to put those allegiances aside and just watch this video with an open mind, because I'm an emotional intelligence coach. And when I make these videos using pop culture and hot topics, I'm actually trying to teach you about EQ through the lens of popular conversation. Now, Huda is someone who you guys are probably assuming I'm going to be talking about how toxic she is. And I am to some degree. But the part that I want to talk about is something that she does, that a lot of her fans do, and that even those of you who don't like her do. And that is victim speak. And last episode, it got dangerous. Now you might be wondering, Blue, what is victim speak? Victim speak, or victim language, is a fatalistic way of complaining about the world as if you are always going to assume that you are under attack and therefore are harmless and not culpable for the actions that are being taken around you. It is basically a part of victim mentality, right? In your brain, everything that happens is happening to you, because there's no way in hell that you might have co-created the ongoing dumpster fires that you find yourself in. Now, when Huda does this, some of you, because you're also victims like her, feel like because she's relatable, then we have to somehow feel bad for her. And others of you who are more empowered and have a little bit more EQ are like, hey, she's actually manipulating the audience and the islanders through the lens of being a victim. Either way, it is something that I have just learned to come to expect from Huda, Amaya. A couple of them actually speak like victims. And before any Amaya stans get distracted by the fact that I mentioned her and Huda in the same sentence, yes, psychologically speaking, Huda and Amaya are actually a lot more similar than you guys realize. It's just that Amaya is much more likable. But that's a whole different conversation for a whole different video. And I actually love Amaya. So this is not about me attacking her. This is just about me being objective. Now, back to Huda and her expertise with being a professional victim. Last night, she got confronted by her cast member, Chris, because he thought that she was being two-faced. And the reason why Chris thought she was being two-faced was, even though she had tried to get sexual with him from the onset of their relationship, mind you, their relationship's only like a week old, he said to his boys, I could only fight her off but so long, I finally gave in and had sex with her. So she immediately wanted to become intimate, and I'm not going to slut shame her for that. I know some of you have a problem with her sleeping with everybody that she's coupled up with. I'm not going to slut shame her for that. This video is not about that. However, he then confronted her and said, you are willing to hop on my penis at night, even though we're in a room full of 10 other people. But during the daytime, when we're just trying to have a regular conversation, you won't hold my hand or give me a kiss. Why is that? Huda's eyes then welled up with tears, as they often do. And then she went on to say, I don't want to do PDA because the last time I did PDA, I was judged so heavily. And so this time, I want to do it different. Pause for a second. This is where I immediately knew that we were about to see some bullshit go down. And it worked. A lot of you were like, oh my God, I totally get where she's coming from. If she wants to do things differently and be less affectionate and show less PDA because they judged her so harshly, we totally get that. Did y'all miss the nuance in that? She didn't say that she changed her behavior, because that's how actual growth and improvement looks. She said that she wanted it to look like she had changed her behavior. In real life, under the covers, she's still hopping on peen. So she didn't change how fast she was trying to get hunched on. She didn't change her actual behavior. She was only worried about the optics. And then when Chris, being the patient man that he is, pushed back like, well, if you want to do things differently, shouldn't we be able to show affection? Because we're already doing it in the bedroom. I'm not asking you to change your behavior. I'm just asking you to stop being sneaky about it, because we're already touching, right? And the PDA thing, like, you naturally like affection. Affection wasn't the issue. It was you crashing out that was the issue. Huda wouldn't even let that man get out the first 3 syllables. I had to fill in what he would later tell other people. She kept interrupting him in order to make sure that she got a chance to play victim. Because if he kept talking, he might actually make sense and might actually have a point that would require her to be held accountable. And we can't have that. And that's why I think Huda is dangerous, because think about all the Black men who have dated Huda, who have said that they have been uncomfortable. All of them have said it. All three of them have said it. They've been uncomfortable with her behavior. And the only reason we believe them is because it's on camera. Even though Chris was the person who was hurt and frustrated and confused and was asking his partner to affirm him and provide him with clarity about her actions, within mere moments, even with editing, you could tell from his face, it happened fairly quickly, she had switched places with him. And now she was acting as if she was the victim, because in her mind, she's always the victim. That is called Darvo. For those of you who've taken my classes or watched my lives, Darvo stands for deny, attack, reverse, victim, and offender. Darvo is what happens when you go to someone who's hurt you, but somehow they flipped entire conversation to make it seem as if they're the one who's under attack, even though they're the one who caused the harm. Huda ran off crying, right? And Chris kept saying, am I tripping? Am I tripping? Gaslighting, used properly, because you guys love to misuse that word. She immediately made it seem like he's the one who came at her when it was the other way around. And you guys, again, thank God there was cameras. In general, victim speak, Darvo, and gaslighting are all psychologically harmful manipulation tactics. But when you add race and gender to it, it becomes dangerous. Because what do you think would have happened if this 6'8" black man was sitting at a cafe with a little petite, cute Palestinian girl and she ran off crying? What do you think people's first assumptions would have been had there not been a camera showing that he was actually the person who was being victimized in that situation? Same thing with Jeremiah, even with JD. The reason why I think Huda is actually dangerous is her ability to, even when there are cameras, get people to turn on those who she is actively victimizing, immediately creates this really icky setting where black and brown people, women and men alike, always have to pray that there's proof and evidence that she's not the one who was attacked. Women like Huda are a perfect example of why fetishizing black culture and black men tends to backfire, right? Because it's not lost on me that all those men who are very sweet and very kind and very patient all called her aggressive and dominant. She sees them as mandingos, as meat, as sexual conquest, who she wants to hunch on at night, but maybe not so much claim during the daytime if it's bad for her optics. And she sees black women as sidekicks who she can speak to in a black accent, but God forbid we act like real sisters and hold you accountable, and now we're the big mean girls, we're the big mean scary black ladies. The fact that she's the aggressor, and yet we get called aggressive when we call people like her out, it's a tale as old as time and a song as old as American racism. And for all you people saying, oh my God, but Huda's such a sweet girl. She's so sweet. Her third grade best friend went on TikTok and said she's a nice girl. Respectfully, that is irrelevant. You don't have to be malicious to be dangerous and unsafe. Her ego is obese and running rampant through that villa. And as much as I called out Sierra for being manipulative, Huda is actually a better master manipulator because she manipulated herself first. The only way you walk around with victim speak is if you have first lied to yourself, which makes it so much easier to lie to everybody else. Look at Chris's face after that argument. Every person who comes in contact with her walks away with that same face. So yeah, when I see people online defending Huda because they're like, well, Huda's not a bad person, she's relatable. If you relate to Huda, I don't think you realize what you're confessing to. That's not a flex. It's also not an excuse, right? Because just because someone is relatable doesn't mean they're not wrong. It doesn't mean they can't be held accountable. It doesn't mean we can't demand that they be more cognizant of their impact on others. All right, this video is long enough. If you would like to actively, with a professional and in a really safe group environment online, so you can do it from any place in the world, if you would like to learn more about being emotionally intelligent, consider taking my 8-week online workshop. It's called Own Thy Shift. This is not a scam. I have a 75% return rate. People who take this class recommend it to their friends, their families, their partners. We've now become a community, and the link is fall25.eventbrite.com. And even if you don't take the class, just consider what I've said in this video and consider holding not just Huda, but yourself accountable. You are not a victim. A survivor maybe, but you don't have to be a victim. Okay? Love y'all. Bye.